My name is Elizabeth Hopkins, and I'm a student at the Garrison Fire School in Owings Mills, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Alex D'Agostini, and I attend Crespi High School, and I'm from Thousand Oaks, California.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Wittig, and I'm a junior at Wakefield High School in Arlington, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Sarah Carlson. I attend Lisbon High School in Lisbon, Iowa.
And I'm Ann Nicholas. Welcome to Close-Up Forum. There's been increased interest over the last several months in the assassination of John F. Kennedy, especially with the release of a motion picture on the subject. Some of the public interest focuses on several conspiracy theories that contradict the official Warren Commission report that was issued by the government. Last week, CIA Director Robert Gates announced what he'll call an openness policy at the CIA, and part of that involves releasing documents that were previously sealed that relate to the assassination. We'll hear from our panel of high school students about what they know about JFK and the assassination. And later in the show, we'll talk about the term electability and how it relates to political candidates. First, I'd like to get just a general idea of what kinds of things you learn in school about Kennedy and about his administration and about the assassination attempt. Caitlin, if we could start with you.
Well, in my American history class, we haven't gotten to the assassination of JFK yet, but I read through the history book, and I'm in a college level course, and my book is vague in a lot of areas where he thinks that you should know about the subject. He doesn't, the author is Thomas Bailey, he doesn't really explain it that well. And about, this isn't very long, I'm just going to read this one thing. This is what it says, this is all it says about the assassination. So bizarre were the events surrounding the two murders that even an elaborate official investigation conducted by Chief Justice Warren could not quiet all doubts and theories about what had really happened. So he sort of presented that there was controversy about what happened, but I don't want to get into it. So if you want to learn more about it, go look it up someplace else. And so we get another book, also we were issued 2 books, and so I looked in that book as well. And that sort of intimated that there was a lone gun theory and a two-man theory and a conspiracy, but that there wasn't enough evidence after the Warren report to go ahead and prosecute. So from the books, that's what I would learn. But through my parents and through other class discussions and other things that I've read, I have a deeper knowledge than just that. But just going from the books, it's very slight and doesn't talk about the controversy and just sort of says that Oswald acted alone and he shot Kennedy.
Have you had any discussions in the classroom, or has the teacher talked about it at all, about the assassination?
Not as of yet in this class, but I have had discussions in other classes excuse me, about it.
What kinds of things are brought up? Do you hear about different theories that are possibilities? Or?
Oh yeah, and about the CIA and about the cover-up, the possible cover-up, and if it was a lone gunman and things like that. But also, we talk about more the repercussions of the assassination and the attitude, and I mean the repercussions of people's attitude and people's, not faith in government, but just how it was so crushing to the nation and such a deep loss.
Alex, what kinds of things does your history book talk about?
Well, my history book tends to actually veer away from the subject of the controversy. They tend to, it adopted the lone man theory, one with Oswald, and it's actually very short. And
have you covered it yet in class with a teacher?
No, we have not, no. Although my school did host a seminar on the JFK assassination, which it went into some detail on the conspiracy theory. And they used the Zapruder film. That's what mainly they based all their arguments off of, as well as other tests on certain things such as cadavers and trying to disprove the pristine bullet theory.
Was that seminar your first introduction to the subject of the assassination, or any conspiracies, theories?
Actually, I probably formed an affinity towards just learning about conspiracies, probably from a magazine article on the JFK assassination. It intrigued me, so I decided to research on it, and then just so happened my school hosted a program, which was great.
Sarah, what kind of things are in your textbook about JFK?
Well, we studied it last year, so, but we watched a movie. We watched about the assassination. We watched the movie of it, and it didn't say much about the controversy at all that's brought up now. So.
Did it talk about the Warren Commission report?
No, not really. Not very much.
Did it have any information at all about the assassination then, or any definitive resolution to who did it or how it happened?
Well, they had a picture of Johnson standing in the background with Oswald, and they thought that Johnson was in on it too. So they said something about that maybe, but that was about it, about the controversy.
Did your teacher talk about it at all when you covered it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did that person introduce any other ideas that were not in the textbook?
He said that he thought that there was more behind it. He thought that the mafia and stuff was in on it too. I think it was too. I thought it was more than just a lone man.
Did you learn more from another source than you did in school about this? And if so, what other ways have you been getting information on this?
No, really, that's where I learned most about it.
Okay. In school. How about you, Elizabeth?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to discuss it fully in our history class because we were all pressed for the advanced placement exam. But our history book, I did go over it, and it didn't talk that much about it. I think it would be hard for a history book to really make a definitive answer because no one else can. I mean, the Warren Commission gave its opinion, and that is accepted by our nation for the most part, but at least by the government, as the real truth. But I think with all the controversy surrounding it, and especially recently, it seems that no one can really give a true answer. No one knows.
If there are no definite answers, or if this is still an open question, which some of you seem to be suggesting here, what would you say should be done? Do you agree with this release of documents? Is this one way to...
I think that people like Oliver Stone, who made JFK, and I read an article by Gerald Ford, and everyone comes to different conclusions with information that they have now. And it's so opinionated and so emotional as to what you believe that if you're really angry with the government, it's very easy to believe that it was a government conspiracy. But if you have complete faith in the government, then you're going to tend not to believe that. So I think one way to get around that is to open up the files. If people are interested enough, curious enough, that they can go and read the files themselves and form personal opinions and everybody has the same information. So you're not dealing with people who only have some of the information, so they come to this conclusion, and then you have people that were on the Warren Commission, and so they come to different conclusions. But if you open everything up, then everybody's starting with the same base, so you have a clean slate to start with.
I thought the JFK movie, or the Oliver Stone film, was really interesting in that it did open this debate, and it opened up all this new interest in the JFK assassination. But of course, it can't be taken as truth. It's a film. It's not a documentary even. It's just a feature film. So I think that it's good in that it opened up the interest in it. I think that the CIA files should be open, and I think that a lot of people will read them and are very interested in what they have to say. But there's always the question, well, how many of the files will be missing, and what information will be there, and what information will be left out or blacked out. But I think that it's good that they're addressing it and that they might open it.
Should the government do another investigation into the assassination?
No, I don't think so. I think that it's, although it's interesting, I don't think that it's recent enough to warrant another investigation. What will they do? Johnson's gone. They can't arrest him, or the mob. So,
Alex, what do you think?
Well, I feel if the CIA actually had involvement in it, and they did release these papers to the public, I think it would be an atrocity, because if they did do that, how can we trust our government anymore? There would be uprisings and certain things. I mean, maybe this is just really speculating and being very idealistic, but I feel that it's actually very realistic if the CIA was involved in this conspiracy.
Are you suggesting then that if the CIA were involved, that it would be better that we don't know that?
Yes, I'm saying that it would be better, because I know for a fact that I would not be able to trust my government if that was the case. If they were involved in the assassination of our country's highest executive, I wouldn't feel safe. If they can assassinate the president, then it would be extremely simple to assassinate any other person.
Would you not want to know then exactly who killed JFK if you think there's any doubt?
I don't think the public should know, really. I don't really think they should find out, because there is the reasonable doubt that the CIA was involved. I mean, who's to say that they weren't? And if they were, again, I must say that there could be just mass confusion within our society, and who knows, resulting in civil strifes as well as murder, anything like that, just trying to get back at the government. There would be a loss of trust entirely.
I disagree with that, actually, because I don't think the CIA is our central government in any shape or form. There's been a lot of talk recently with the end of the Cold War that the CIA might fall apart entirely. I think that if we opened up these files and we did find new information, even if it did point to the CIA, I don't think there's a problem with that. I don't think it would necessarily break the trust in our government. Our government has changed since 1963, and it's I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it will change the attitude of the people towards the government. It's just the CIA.
I think maybe to some people it would change their attitudes, but I still agree with you in the fact that I don't think that that's a good reason to not give out information to the public. I mean, there are people now that think that it was a conspiracy and completely blame the government, and they don't have the proof to do that. And so there are always going to be people believing that. So, but if we open up the files, then, I mean, I don't know what happened. So, but if we open up the files, then there's a chance that some of this will become more clear. And so I don't think that that's a good enough reason to leave everything in the air hanging like this. Even, I mean, 30 years afterwards, and this is still such a burning issue with people that it needs to be cleared up.
Sarah, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they should tell them. I mean, if they found out who did it, they should tell out, and if it causes problems, it's not going to totally throw out the government. I mean, we still have trust in the government.
Would you suggest a reopening of the investigation into the assassination?
No, not. I mean, I wouldn't. If it just comes up and someone finds something, yeah, that's fine, but I don't think we should go all the way back 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I guess.
But let's say if Johnson was involved, then that would readily involve the executive portion of our government. Let's say if there were other people involved in this conspiracy. I mean, a conspiracy of this magnitude, obviously you need someone who's a very high-ranking official, either in the CIA, or it could even be our president, or a vice president then, excuse me. So I feel.
Well, what if the government wasn't involved? And, I mean, I don't think it's right to assume that Johnson had to be involved and this was CIA government-infested conspiracy to kill the President of the United States, that maybe this would clear the government and it would instill some needed trust now. So I strongly agree that they should open the files.
Even if the government was involved, I don't think that there would be mass uprisings as you suggest, just because I don't think it's necessary. And if the government was involved, that doesn't make me very happy. I don't think it would make much of the public very happy. And I think that if the government was involved, then that would necessitate changes. And so that sort of thing can happen. I don't think it's right that it would have happened. So.
But who's to say that the government wasn't involved?
If that's what you said, if they found out that the government was involved. Mm-hmm. If they were, then I think that we need to change some things.
We've talked about possible conspiracy theories here, but I was just curious what each of your views are on what you think really happened. Having read what you've read and heard what you've heard, and maybe seen the movie, if you have any feelings one way or the other, if there is a conspiracy, if you believe in the one-man gun theory.
There's the theories I've heard about most recently have been about the grassy knoll, and there was a program on public television that showed some experiments done, include auditory and other experiments, just trajectory experiments. And it seems to me that there's good evidence that shows that there's a definite possibility of another gunman on the grassy knoll, as well as the gunman in the book depository. So I think that would be most interesting to me if I were to get involved in the research for this.
I saw the same program I was talking about, and I think it was Walter Cronkite, if anybody else has seen it. But I think that one of the really strong arguments in that was, I think it was this one, that they had a bullet, and they said that Oswald's one bullet went through Kennedy's brain and then through Connolly's rib.
Magic bullet.
Yeah, and they took a bullet of that strength. I'm not familiar with bullet terms. With that strength, whatever you call it, and did these tests that was like the equivalent of going through a brain and a bone, and one bullet couldn't do that. It just didn't work. The bullet was destroyed before it would reach Connolly's rib, and so I thought that physical fact sort of was the best argument that there had to have been two gunmen, along with the time restrictions or how long it takes to fire and aim this type of rifle.
So I agree with her. Yeah, I feel that the lone gunman theory is totally preposterous. It's been proven that it's impossible for one man to shoot with that type of rifle, which was 30 years ago, and to cock the rifle and then take aim at a moving target, and from that structure, it's just impossible for someone to do. Even the greatest marksman could not pull off a shot like that. I feel that definitely there was more than one person involved, and I think it's pointing towards the grassy knoll theory. I think that would give the clearest shot and to kill President Kennedy during that time.
Sarah?
I agree with that. I definitely don't think it was a one-man thing. I think someone was behind it. Okay. I'm not sure who, but...
Okay. Our other topic today is a look at the term electability, which we've all heard used by political commentators and pundits to define some of the candidates who are now in the race for the presidential nomination and some other candidates. It's sometimes unclear what exactly they mean, but we asked each of you to come up with your definitions of what you think makes a candidate electable. And I'd like to go around and find out what you've come up with. Elizabeth?
Well, I find electability to be a personal thing in each voter's mind. And for me, electability involves the issues rather than any hype or any other personal comments towards them. I think that the issues and the amount of background the candidate has behind him has more to say to me than any other hype could.
How do you think that the people that are using this term, in particular the political pollsters and pundits, what do you think they mean by it? Do you think it's similar to your definition?
No, I don't. I think electability, in the media sense, I think you're talking about electoral pundits, I think, would be more of how they look, I think, has been addressed. And do they look like a president could look? Do they have the charisma of a president? And do they have the moral respect of a president? That's, I think, the way that it's been used most often.
Okay. Your definition?
I think, excuse me, the media's definition is a superficial one of exactly what Liz said, who looks the best, who's like Clinton, supposedly electable. But I think personally, and we as a nation need to, Jefferson believed that if the masses were educated about the candidates, they would choose the right person, and that's why democracy would work. And I think we need to get back to that belief, that to stop worrying about what somebody looks like and how the charisma of someone, and get back to the basics of elections and of candidates, of what people stand for, their beliefs, their issues. Can I as a voter have faith in this person to put forth programs that we need, that the community needs? And once the media gets back to that, then the whole nation is going to follow, and we're going to get back to what's really important, the issues and beliefs, and whether we can trust this person to lead the country.
So that would be your definition. Can we trust?
That was a definition, but I think that's I mean, my definition of electability simply is what Liz said: do I agree with the person, with their issues and their beliefs?
Okay. Sarah?
I think it's just the way the person appeals to the people and how they portray themselves, how they just, I think it's more people, the way they vote today is based on, a lot of people is what they look like. I mean, I think George Bush is, I mean, he looks nice, he's tall, and he's pretty skinny. I mean, he's pretty physically fit. I think a lot of people base it on that, but I think, like Caitlin said, we should get back to the old way, like Jefferson said, and base it on what they believe in and agree, like if we agree with them and what they can do for us.
Okay. And Alex?
Yeah, I wrote a little something on my belief of electability. I feel that this really sums up the gist of my argument. I feel that electability is a compilation of one's life's goals, ambitions, and tragedies, as well as one's values and virtues learned throughout their life. Therefore, electability is definitely something that is acquired and can later give definition to one's campaign and outcome of their political career.
Okay.
Sorry,
Having said that, do you think that that is in line with what you believe to be the media's definition of electability?
No, that's definitely not the media's definition. Theirs is, as Caitlin said, it's very, very superficial. Their definition. I go along with what my definition is. I feel that it's everything you've learned throughout life, all the people who've influenced you, everyone. They add to your, whether you're planning on campaigning for something or whatever you're planning on doing. It all depends on who influences you, whether it's your parents, your friends, or what you do, and whatever.
Well, we have 4 definitions, none of which match what you think the media means by it. But would you suggest that the media stop using it, or define it, or change the way they use it?
The media needs to stop using it because they have such immense control over what people think. And just because they were saying that Bill Clinton is electable, so that's why we're going to vote for him. But as soon as like the flowers thing came out, like things like that, then the press started saying, well, maybe he's not electable. So people stopped looking at him and people looked to Tsongas. But now the media is saying, well, maybe Tsongas isn't electable because he's not charismatic enough. Why should the media decide for the voters whether they want this person? I mean, the media's job is to inform, and they should stop saying who's electable and just tell us what the people think, and then let us decide if we think they're electable, or the voters, since I'm not voting.
Do you think that they're using this term has some effect on voters?
Yes, great effect.
I agree. I think the media could do well to stay more objective rather than subjective in their examinations of the candidates.
Do you think that most people, generally voters, would understand what's meant by the media using this term, what the media means by it?
What do you mean?
If they heard a columnist say someone so-and-so is electable, do you think that they would know what that meant?
I don't think so. I think that's probably where the difference comes in with people being influenced by the media. If they don't understand what that means, they may think, well, you know, maybe his ideas aren't as good as I judged them to be, and maybe it's not, and they're not thinking about the media judging his electability on his style or his flair. I think that could influence voters.
Do you think that a candidate could change from being electable to being unelectable, or vice versa?
Yes, I feel that way, especially excuse me, if you look at the media, if you just read their reports, I feel that they tend to veer towards being very biased at times, and they don't give a candidate a fair chance, and they know that they have millions of subscribers with all the newspapers. They know that people are going to read that, and they're going to form their opinion most likely based off of what they read, and sometimes it's not the truth, really. It's not quoted as the truth what that candidate said. Sometimes it's twisted, and I feel that they should at times just try and maintain that sense of, I feel, integrity by staying neutral, not biased like that. It's very unfair for the people.
Sarah, if someone were labeled unelectable, a candidate, do you think they could overcome that with the voters and actually win a primary or win a general election?
It'd be really hard, but if they campaign maybe a lot in the area where the people were most against them, maybe they could. It'd be really hard, though, for them to do it. It'd be, because mainly, I mean, the media is going to have a great effect on the people.
Okay, we just have a few minutes left, but we do ask you to play news editor at the end of the program and come up with a story. This week we'd like you to talk about a story that you think was unreported, that deserved a little more media attention than it got this week. And we'll start with you, Alex.
Well, I know one story is that at the moment, CIA intelligence has reported that North Vietnam has nuclear capabilities right now. They're capable of building a nuclear bomb, and I feel that that really imposes a threat, and that should be taken care of immediately before they attack or anything. Who knows their objective right now? But I feel that that should definitely be looked into, and the people should be warned about that.
Okay, that they are working toward getting nuclear capability.
Yes, and the people, yeah, I believe that way, and I think the president should look into that, definitely.
Okay. Sarah?
Mine was how they had the New Hampshire caucus or primary. And they had so much attention there. They had all the news stations there, and then they went to South Dakota, and they didn't have very much about it. Because I was looking in the paper today, I didn't see very much about it. I was looking for it to see how Harkin did, but it wasn't much about it at all. So I was kind of hoping that I think they should cover that a little bit more when they go to different states.
Caitlin?
The plight of the Kurds, especially now with the, well, it's a month old now, but the recent anniversary of the Gulf War, and how the Kurds in Iraq are still, they're still living in horrible conditions. Hussein is still, he still has these endless records on them, and they're still in danger of being exterminated by him. And I think our news media has ignored them and forgotten about them. And I think we need to remember them, especially since we encouraged them to overthrow Hussein and then did nothing about that. So I think we definitely need to remember them.
Okay. Elizabeth?
Well, there was a very small article in the New York Times about a Japanese-American businessman in Los Angeles who was murdered after a racist death threat was made about a couple days before his murder. And then they went on to discuss Japanese-American Girl Scouts who were treated very poorly while trying to sell their cookies. And people were saying, you know, I only buy American. And I think that shows sort of this new trend in the United States with this Japan bashing. I think it's really terrible, and I think the media has a lot to do with it. The media has been addressing it and saying, you know, showing all these comments of Japanese officials about the American workers, and I think that maybe I think they can be held responsible for a lot of this new Japanese bashing.
Do you think the media could do anything to stop that problem?
I think, I don't know what the media could do now. It sort of seems a little late. I think we could try to address it, though, and really show how negative this new trend is and hope that it turns around.
Okay. We're out of time for today. I'd like to thank you all for your comments and for your discussion here, and thank you for watching. Join us again on Close Up Forum. I'm Ann Nicholas.
Deeper knowledge than just that, but just going from the books, it's very slight and doesn't talk about the controversy and just sort of says that Oswald acted alone and he shot Kennedy.
Have you had any discussions in the classroom, or has the teacher talked about it at all, about the assassination?
Not as of yet in this class, but I have had discussions in other classes excuse me, about it.
What kinds of things are brought up? Do you hear about different theories that are possibilities? Or?
Oh yeah, and about the CIA and about the cover-up, the possible cover-up, and if it was a lone gunman and things like that. But also, we talk about more the repercussions of the assassination and...
Assassination. We'll hear from our panel of high school students about what they know about JFK and the assassination. And later in the show, we'll talk about the term electability and how it relates to political candidates. First, I'd like to get just a general idea of what kinds of things you learn in school about Kennedy and about his administration and about the assassination attempt. Caitlin, if we could start with you.
Well, in my American history class, we haven't gotten to the assassination of JFK yet, but I read through the history book, and I'm in a college-level course, and my book is vague in a lot of areas where he thinks that you should know about the subject. He doesn't, the author is Thomas Bailey, he doesn't really explain it that well. And about, this isn't very long, I'm just going to read this one thing. This is what it says, this is all it says about the assassination. So the attitude and, I mean, the repercussions of people's attitude and people's not faith in government, but just how it was so crushing to the nation and such a deep loss.
Alex, what kinds of things does your history book talk about?
Well, my history book tends to actually veer away from the subject of the controversy. They tend to, it adopted the lone man theory, one with Oswald, and it's actually very short. And
have you covered it yet in class with a teacher?
no, we have not, no. Although my school did host a seminar on the JFK assassination, which it went into some detail on the conspiracy theory, and they used the Zapruder film. That's what mainly they based all.
My name is Elizabeth Hopkins, and I'm a student at the Garrison Fire School in Owings Mills, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Alex D'Agostini, and I attend Crespi High School, and I'm from Thousand Oaks, California.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Wittig, and I'm a junior at Wakefield High School in Arlington, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Sarah Carlson. I attend Lisbon High School in Lisbon, Iowa.
And I'm Ann Nicholas. Welcome to Close Up Forum. There's been increased interest over the last several months in the assassination of John F. Kennedy, especially with the release of a motion picture on the subject. Some of the public interest focuses on several conspiracy theories that contradict the official Warren Commission report that was issued by the government. Last week, CIA Director Robert Gates announced what he'll call an openness policy at the CIA, and part of that involves releasing documents that were previously sealed that relate to the assassination.
Bizarre were the events surrounding the two murders that even an elaborate official investigation conducted by Chief Justice Warren could not quiet all doubts and theories about what had really happened. So he sort of presented that there was controversy about what happened, but I don't want to get into it. So if you want to learn more about it, go look it up someplace else. And so we get another book, also we were issued 2 books, and so I looked in that book as well. And that sort of intimated that there was a lone gun theory and a two-man theory and a conspiracy, but that there wasn't enough evidence after the Warren report to go ahead and prosecute. So from the books, that's what I would learn. But through my parents and through other class discussions and other things that I've read, I have a